The Relentless Dreamer, the untold story of Jeff Bezos. From a garage startup to building the world's most influential company, when we think about transformation, few names shine as brightly as Jeff Bezos. He didn't just build a company, he reshaped the way the world shops, reads, watches movies, and even explores space. His journey is not just the story of a businessman, but a tale of bold imagination, calculated risk, and a refusal to accept limits. To understand Jeff Bezos is to understand the power of vision combined with persistence, a recipe that can inspire anyone with a dream. Why should we study Bezos? Because his story is a mirror that reflects possibility. He was not born into wealth. He did not inherit a ready-made empire. What he did have was a restless curiosity, an appetite for hard work, and an unwavering belief in the long term. His life reminds us that ordinary beginnings can fuel extraordinary outcomes, and that the courage to act on an idea can change not just your life, but the world. From the early days, Bezos showed signs of relentless determination. Raised by a teenage mother and later adopted by his Cuban immigrant stepfather, his childhood was far from conventional. He spent summers on his grandparents' ranch learning both independence and problem-solving. As a young boy, he dismantled his crib with a screwdriver because he wanted a bed. That same mindset, of not accepting what was given but instead building what was needed, became the seed of his empire. Bezos excelled academically, studying electrical engineering and computer science at Princeton. He could have followed a safe, lucrative career path, and for a while he did, working on Wall Street at prestigious firms. But inside him burned a vision too powerful to ignore. In 1994, after reading a report about the explosive growth of the internet, Bezos saw something most people couldn't: a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build a business online. The idea? An online bookstore. Not glamorous, not guaranteed, but scalable. He left his high-paying job, drove across the country with his wife, and in a garage, Amazon was born. It's easy to see his success now and forget the struggles. In the early years, Amazon faced losses, skepticism, and even ridicule. Critics called it Amazon.bomb. But Bezos wasn't building for short-term profits. He was building for the future. His guiding principle was crystal clear: focus obsessively on the customer. He believed if you build something people truly love, the money will follow. That customer-first obsession became the DNA of Amazon, from one-click purchases to same-day delivery. Bezos' mindset is what sets him apart. He often speaks about the importance of being misunderstood for long periods of time, of making bold bets, and of thinking in decades, not quarters. He once said, "If you know in advance that it's going to work, it's not an experiment." This philosophy fueled Amazon's constant innovation, from Kindle to AWS to Prime Video, services that now touch hundreds of millions of lives. The turning points in Bezos' journey were defined by risk. Amazon's decision to expand beyond books into electronics, toys, and household goods was radical at the time. Launching Amazon Web Services, a cloud computing platform, seemed like a distraction from retail. Today, AWS is a cornerstone of the internet and one of Amazon's most profitable divisions. Each move reflected Bezos' willingness to challenge assumptions and bet on the future. But what are the lessons for us? First, think long-term. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, Bezos' ability to delay rewards is a superpower. Second, embrace failure. Bezos invested in products that flopped, the Fire Phone, for example, but those failures paved the way for massive successes like Alexa. Third, obsess over the customer. Whether you're running a global business or a small startup, success lies in solving real problems for people. Applying these lessons doesn't require billions of dollars. It requires mindset shifts. Start by asking yourself daily, what am I building for the long term? Create habits of learning, experimenting, and listening to feedback. Break your goals into small, measurable steps, but always keep the big vision alive. Practice resilience. Not everything will work, but each setback is data for your next move. At the heart of Bezos' story is courage. Courage to leave comfort. Courage to be misunderstood. Courage to chase an idea others thought was crazy. And that is perhaps his greatest gift to us, the reminder that bold dreams are worth the risk. As Bezos himself once said, "We are all the sum of our choices." His life proves that the right choices, fueled by vision and persistence, can ripple across generations. Whether you're starting a business, pursuing a passion, or simply striving to live with purpose, Jeff Bezos' journey is a beacon. He began in a garage armed not with certainty but with belief. And that belief changed the world. The challenge for us is clear. What garage will you start from? What dream will you dare to chase, even if no one else believes in it yet? Bezos' story tells us one truth. The future belongs to the relentless dreamers. Every generation has its visionaries, people who don't just adapt to the world as it is, but reimagine what it could become. For the last 3 decades, Jeff Bezos has been one of those rare figures. His name has become synonymous with Amazon, the company that started as a modest online bookstore and grew into a trillion-dollar enterprise that reshaped global commerce, technology, and even culture. But beyond the headlines of wealth, market dominance, and innovation lies a deeper story, one that holds valuable lessons for anyone striving to build a meaningful life or career. Why should we study Jeff Bezos? At first glance, he may seem distant, a billionaire entrepreneur, a pioneer of space exploration, and the man behind a business empire that touches nearly every corner of modern life. Yet when we look closer, we see a story that is profoundly human. Bezos' journey embodies themes that speak to all of us. Courage in the face of uncertainty, persistence through criticism, the willingness to take risks, and the discipline to think long-term in a short-term world. These qualities are not reserved for billionaires. They are tools available to anyone who dares to adopt them. Studying Jeff Bezos matters because his life answers one of the most pressing questions of our age. What does it take to build something enduring in a world that changes so quickly? In a time when attention spans are shrinking and businesses rise and fall overnight, Bezos created a company that not only survived the chaos of the dot-com era, but emerged stronger after every challenge. Amazon's journey shows us that success is not about being lucky or born into privilege. It is about cultivating vision, resilience, and relentless execution. Another reason to pay attention to Bezos is the scale of his impact. Amazon started with the simple idea of selling books online. Today, it influences how we shop, how we read, how we watch movies, how businesses store data, and even how we imagine the future of space travel. Few individuals have had such a sweeping effect on multiple industries. By understanding the principles that guided Bezos, we can learn how ideas evolve, how small beginnings can scale into global change, and how one person's choices can ripple across billions of lives. But beyond the economic impact, there's a deeper, personal dimension. Jeff Bezos' philosophy invites us to reflect on our own decisions. He often speaks about the regret minimization framework, a mental tool he used when deciding to leave his secure Wall Street job to start Amazon. He asked himself, when I'm 80, will I regret not trying this? That simple yet powerful question is one we can all use in our lives. It shifts the focus from fear of failure to the greater fear of inaction. By studying Bezos, we gain not only business strategies, but also ways to think about our own lives, how to make choices with courage, how to pursue passion with discipline, and how to live without regret. Another reason his story matters is the honesty with which he embraces failure. Bezos doesn't present success as a straight line. He openly acknowledges mistakes, from the failed Fire Phone to missteps in certain Amazon ventures. But instead of viewing failure as defeat, he treats it as tuition for innovation. In his words, if you're going to take bold bets, they're going to be experiments. And if they're experiments, you don't know in advance if they're going to work. This perspective is liberating because it gives us permission to try, stumble, and learn, rather than paralyzing ourselves with perfectionism. Ultimately, learning about Jeff Bezos matters because his story serves as a modern-day blueprint for pursuing audacious dreams. He shows us that you don't have to wait for perfect conditions or guaranteed success to act. He reminds us that building something of value requires patience, obsession with serving others, and the courage to look foolish in the short term. And perhaps most importantly, he demonstrates that even in an age of rapid change, timeless principles, vision, resilience, and integrity remain the foundation of greatness. To study Bezos is to study possibility. His life tells us that anyone, regardless of where they start, can shape their destiny by the choices they make. It tells us that the world is hungry for dreamers who act, for builders who persist, and for leaders who dare to think differently. And that is why his story is worth more than headlines. It is a source of inspiration, a challenge, and an invitation for each of us to rise to our fullest potential. Jeffrey Preston Bezos, born Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen on January 12, 1964, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, did not arrive in the world under circumstances that suggested future billionaire status. His mother, Jacqueline Gies, was only a teenager when she gave birth to him. She faced the challenges of being a young, single mother in the 1960s, a time when society was far less forgiving of unconventional family structures. Jeff's biological father, Ted Jorgensen, was largely absent from his early years, and by the time Jeff was 4, his mother had remarried a Cuban immigrant named Miguel Mike Bezos, who legally adopted Jeff and gave him the surname that would later become iconic, Mike Bezos, who had come to the United States as a teenager without speaking English, provided an inspiring model of resilience and determination. He worked hard to create opportunities for his family, instilling in Jeff the importance of perseverance and education. From the beginning, Jeff grew up in an environment where overcoming adversity was not just expected, it was normal. His family history gave him a deep appreciation for hard work, adaptability, and the courage to start fresh, qualities that would later define his entrepreneurial journey. Jeff's childhood revealed hints of the future innovator. He was a curious, highly analytical child, constantly tinkering with gadgets and building makeshift inventions. One famous story tells of how, as a toddler, he tried to dismantle his crib with a screwdriver because he wanted to sleep in a proper bed. His mother recognized his unusual curiosity and encouraged his interests. Later, he spent summers with his maternal grandparents on their ranch in Texas. These summers proved to be formative. Bezos learned self-reliance, practical problem-solving, and the value of grit by fixing machinery, taking care of livestock, and working outdoors. He has often spoken about how his grandfather's resourcefulness and can-do spirit profoundly shaped his own philosophy. As Bezos moved into adolescence, his academic excellence began to shine. The family eventually settled in Houston, Texas, and later in Miami, Florida, where Jeff attended high school. At Miami Palmetto Senior High School, Bezos was an outstanding student with a love for science and technology. He was the valedictorian of his graduating class and delivered a speech that reflected his fascination with space, a passion that would resurface decades later with Blue Origin, his private space exploration company. Even as a teenager, Bezos' ambitions reached far beyond the ordinary. He dreamed of one day colonizing space to ensure humanity's survival. After high school, Bezos attended Princeton University, one of the world's most prestigious institutions. Initially considering physics, he eventually shifted to electrical engineering and computer science, graduating with high honors in 1986. Princeton not only gave him rigorous technical training, but also placed him in an environment of high achievers, where excellence was the norm and intellectual curiosity was celebrated. This background prepared him for his early career in the world of finance and technology. Following graduation, Bezos worked in several firms on Wall Street, including Fattel, Bankers Trust, and the hedge fund D.E. Shaw & Cowbers at D.E. Shaw. He rose quickly to become a senior vice president at a young age, and it was there he met Mackenzie Tuttle, a fellow Princeton graduate who would later become his wife and partner during Amazon's early years. His work at D.E. Shaw exposed him to the potential of the internet, which was just beginning to show signs of explosive growth. This exposure set the stage for one of the boldest career decisions of his life. In 1994, Bezos read a statistic that the internet was growing at 2,300% per year. For most people, this was just a number, but for Bezos, it was a revelation. He envisioned a future where online commerce could reshape the way people bought and sold goods. Despite his comfortable and lucrative career at D.E. Shaw, he decided to take a leap of faith. With Mackenzie's support, he quit his job, packed their belongings into a car, and drove cross-country to Seattle, brainstorming business ideas along the way. By the time they arrived, the idea of an online bookstore had crystallized. This bold decision, leaving security for uncertainty, marked the true beginning of Jeff Bezos' entrepreneurial journey. It also reflected the values instilled in him since childhood: courage, resilience, and the willingness to take risks in pursuit of something greater. The boy who once dismantled his crib with a screwdriver was now dismantling the boundaries of traditional business, preparing to build something the world had never seen before. From humble beginnings, the child of a teenage mother, raised by an immigrant father, and nurtured by grandparents who valued grit and ingenuity, Jeff Bezos' life story demonstrates that greatness often grows out of ordinary roots. His biography is not simply about personal triumph, but about the power of choices, the choice to learn, to take risks, and to persist when the easier option would be to quit. At the core of Jeff Bezos' journey lies not just business acumen, but a distinct philosophy of life, a way of thinking that allowed him to see opportunities where others saw risks, to persist when others doubted him, and to dream on a scale that seemed almost absurd. His mindset is perhaps his greatest asset, and understanding it reveals why he has been able to build not just Amazon, but an empire of ideas. Long-term thinking in a short-term world, one of Bezos' most famous philosophies is his obsession with the long term. In a business environment where companies are pressured by investors to show quarterly profits, Bezos consistently focused on horizons decades into the future. He once explained that at Amazon, they make decisions not based on what will pay off in the next 2 or 3 years, but in the next 5, 10, or 20. This approach often made Amazon appear unconventional or even reckless in its early days. Critics mocked the company's repeated losses, calling it Amazon.bomb during the dot-com bust. But Bezos remained unfazed because he wasn't trying to win the next quarter. He was trying to build something that would endure for generations. His ability to zoom out, to think beyond immediate gratification, gave him a strategic advantage. While others fought for short-term survival, Bezos was patiently laying the foundations of an empire. This long-term mindset is encapsulated in one of his guiding ideas. It's all about the long term. He understood that success rarely comes overnight, and that enduring companies are built on patience, persistence, and a willingness to endure criticism. See, regret minimization framework perhaps. The most personal and practical of Bezos's philosophies is what he calls the regret minimization framework. This was the mental model he used when deciding whether to leave his comfortable Wall Street job to start Amazon. He imagined himself at 80 years old looking back on his life. Would he regret taking the leap and failing? Probably not, he reasoned. But would he regret never trying at all? Absolutely. That thought made the decision clear. This framework highlights Bezos' deeper philosophy. Life is not about avoiding failure. It is about avoiding regret. To him, the pain of failure is temporary, but the pain of missed opportunity is permanent. This simple mindset shift allowed him to embrace risk with courage, and it's a tool anyone can use when facing big decisions in life. Customer obsession over competitor obsession, another. Cornerstone of Bezos' thinking is his unwavering customer obsession. While many companies focus on beating competitors, Bezos insisted that Amazon's true north was always the customer. He famously said, "We're not competitor obsessed, we're customer obsessed. We start with what the customer needs and we work backwards." This philosophy shaped everything at Amazon, from the one-click ordering system to fast delivery through Prime, to the development of Kindle and Alexa. Even when customers didn't explicitly ask for these innovations, Bezos and his team anticipated their needs and built solutions to delight them. The deeper lesson here is that greatness comes not from chasing rivals, but from deeply understanding and serving people. Bezos knew that if Amazon focused relentlessly on making customers happy, loyalty and market dominance would naturally follow. Embracing failure as the price of innovation. Unlike many leaders who fear failure, Bezos embraced it as an inevitable and necessary part of innovation. He often reminded his team, if you're going to take bold bets, they're going to be experiments. And if they're experiments, you don't know in advance if they're going to work. Under his leadership, Amazon launched products that failed spectacularly, most notably, the Fire Phone. But rather than letting failure discourage him, Bezos viewed it as a stepping stone. The lessons from the Fire Phone, for example, directly contributed to the success of Alexa and Echo devices. This philosophy of embracing failure gave Amazon a culture of experimentation, where trying bold ideas was not just tolerated but encouraged. Bezos understood that playing it safe leads to mediocrity, while taking risks, even if they fail, leads to breakthroughs. A builder's mindset and infinite curiosity. At his core, Bezos is a builder. From his childhood experiments with electronics to his later ventures in space exploration, he has always been driven by curiosity and a desire to create. He once said, "You don't choose your passions passions choose you." His passion for technology, exploration, and solving big problems guided his career choices. This curiosity also explains why he launched Blue Origin, his private space company, with the vision of making space travel accessible and ensuring humanity's survival beyond Earth. While many saw it as a billionaire's hobby, Bezos framed it as a long-term necessity for humanity. His passion for space, nurtured since his teenage years, never faded. It simply waited for the right moment to be pursued. High standards and relentless execution, Bezos is also known for setting extraordinarily high standards for himself, his team, and his company. He believes in hiring the best talent, raising the bar constantly, and never settling for good enough. At Amazon, this culture manifested in his famous Day One philosophy, which emphasized that every day should be treated like the first day of a startup, energetic, inventive, and customer-focused. He warned against the dangers of Day Two, which he described as stasis, followed by irrelevance, decline, and death. To Bezos, maintaining the urgency and creativity of Day One was essential to keeping Amazon alive and innovative, no matter how large it grew. Motivation. The drive behind the vision. What motivated Jeff Bezos to keep pushing, even when success seemed uncertain? For him, it was not money or fame, but the thrill of building, creating, and exploring. His true motivation has always been the pursuit of possibilities. He has often said that he views his work as part of a larger mission, to leave the world better, to inspire future generations, and to help humanity expand beyond the limitations of Earth. His motivation stems from curiosity, adventure, and a deep belief in human potential. For Bezos, business is not just about profit, it's about impact. Amazon's success gave him the resources to pursue his ultimate dream of space exploration with Blue Origin, reflecting his lifelong motivation to ensure humanity's survival and flourishing. The philosophy in action. When we look at Bezos' mindset and philosophy together, a clear picture emerges. He is someone who believes in bold action, customer focus, long-term vision, and the power of resilience. His motivation is fueled by passion, curiosity, and a desire to make history, not just money. This philosophy may sound ambitious, but it is deeply practical. It teaches us to ask better questions. What would I regret not trying? Am I building for the short term or the long term? Am I obsessed with beating others, or am I obsessed with serving people? Am I avoiding failure, or am I using it as fuel for innovation? For Bezos, the answers to these questions guided his every move. And for us, they can serve as a roadmap for living boldly, thinking expansively, and pursuing a life without regrets. When Jeff Bezos left his secure job on Wall Street in 1994 to start an online bookstore, many people thought he was out of his mind. The internet was still in its infancy, and the idea of selling books, something people were used to browsing in physical stores, online seemed far-fetched. But Bezos had already glimpsed the potential of the internet, and he was willing to risk everything for it. What followed was not a smooth path to success, but a journey defined by bold decisions, setbacks, resilience, and breakthrough moments that transformed Amazon from a garage startup into a global empire. The garage and the birth of Amazon's story begins in a rented house in Bellevue, Washington. Jeff and his then-wife Mackenzie converted the garage into an office, with doors laid across sawhorses serving as desks. They registered the company as Cadabra, Inc., though Bezos soon changed the name to Amazon after realizing that Cadabra sounded too much like cadaver. The name Amazon appealed to him because it was exotic, large, and suggested vast possibilities, just like the river it was named after. In July 1995, Amazon.com launched, offering an online bookstore with more than 1 million titles, far more than any physical store could ever stock. The early days were a whirlwind of packing orders, driving shipments to the post office and scrambling to keep up with demand. Within 30 days, Amazon had customers in all 50 US states and 45 countries. It was an early sign that Bezos' vision of e-commerce had struck a nerve. Early challenges and skepticism. Despite the excitement, the early years were brutal. Amazon operated at a loss for years, reinvesting every penny into growth rather than profits. Investors were skeptical. Wall Street analysts doubted the viability of online retail. Competitors mocked Bezos' get big fast strategy, and critics coined the nickname Amazon.bomb to predict its collapse. But Bezos was unshaken. He insisted that Amazon was not just a bookstore, but a technology company. He emphasized growth over short-term profits, arguing that building scale and customer loyalty would eventually pay off. His long-term vision became Amazon's compass. Even when the immediate financial outlook seemed bleak. Surviving the dot-com crash, one of the most defining moments in Bezos' journey, came during the dot-com crash of 2001. The stock market wiped out countless internet companies, and Amazon seemed like it might be next. Its stock price plummeted by nearly 90%. The media declared the end of Amazon, but Bezos had prepared for storms like this. He doubled down on his core principle, customer obsession. While other companies folded under pressure, Amazon expanded its product categories beyond books into music, DVDs, electronics, and more. It also introduced customer-friendly features like one-click shopping, personalized recommendations, and reviews. By innovating during a crisis, Amazon not only survived but positioned itself as the leader of the e-commerce revolution. Expanding beyond books and beyond retail. The decision to move beyond books was a critical turning point. Bezos believed that Amazon could become the everything store, offering limitless categories. His risk paid off as customers embraced the convenience of buying everything from toys to electronics online. But Bezos wasn't content with retail alone. In 2006, Amazon quietly launched Amazon Web Services, AWS, a cloud computing platform. At the time, it seemed like an odd move. Why would an online retailer dabble in data infrastructure? Yet AWS turned out to be a masterstroke. It solved a real problem for businesses needing scalable computing power, and today, AWS powers much of the internet, generating billions in profits and supporting companies from Netflix to Airbnb. The creation of Prime and customer loyalty. Another bold decision was the creation of Amazon Prime in 2005. For an annual fee, customers could get unlimited 2-day shipping on millions of items. Many executives thought it was too expensive and would never make money. But Bezos understood something deeper: loyalty. Prime created a bond between Amazon and its customers, transforming casual shoppers into lifelong members. Over time, Prime evolved to include video streaming, music, and other benefits, becoming one of the most powerful loyalty programs in history. Embracing bold innovation, Kindle, Alexa, and beyond. Bezos also led Amazon into hardware with the launch of the Kindle e-reader in 2007. Once again, skeptics questioned whether people would give up physical books. But the Kindle revolutionized reading, allowing people to carry entire libraries in their hands. It was a perfect example of Bezos' strategy of starting with customer needs and working backward. Later, Amazon introduced Alexa and Echo devices, pioneering the voice assistant revolution. While not every Amazon hardware experiment succeeded, the Fire Phone being a notable flop, Bezos' willingness to experiment and fail allowed the company to stay ahead in innovation. Blue Origin and the dream of space beyond Amazon. Another major turning point for Bezos was the founding of Blue Origin in 2000. Inspired by his lifelong fascination with space, Bezos envisioned a future where millions of people could live and work beyond Earth. Unlike the fast, showy approach of competitors, Blue Origin's motto was Gradatim ferociter, Latin for step by step, ferociously. While Blue Origin started slowly and quietly, it has made significant progress in reusable rocket technology. For Bezos, space exploration is not just a passion project, but a mission to ensure humanity's long-term survival. This venture reflects his belief in building for the future, even when the payoff may be decades away. Rising to become the world's richest man by the 2010s, Amazon had transformed from a struggling online bookstore into a global powerhouse. Its expansion into cloud computing, streaming services, artificial intelligence, and logistics created a company that touched nearly every aspect of modern life. In 2017, Jeff Bezos surpassed Bill Gates to become the richest person in the world, with a fortune tied to Amazon's meteoric rise. Yet even with his immense wealth, Bezos often emphasized frugality and focus. Amazon's offices famously used doors on sawhorses as desks well into its growth years. He reminded his employees that they should always operate with the scrappiness of a startup, regardless of the company's size. Stepping down as CEO in 2021, Bezos stepped down as CEO of Amazon, handing the reins to Andy Jassy, the former head of AWS. However, he remained executive chairman, focusing on long-term initiatives and innovations. This transition marked another turning point, the shift from day-to-day operations to broader pursuits, including Blue Origin, philanthropy, and his personal projects. The defining thread of his journey, what unites all these turning points, from launching Amazon in a garage to weathering the dot-com crash, to building AWS and Blue Origin, is Bezos' relentless commitment to vision over comfort, experimentation over safety, and long-term growth over short-term applause. His journey shows us that success is not linear. It is messy, filled with risks, setbacks, and criticism. But each turning point reveals the power of resilience, innovation, and bold decision-making. Bezos' story is not just about building a company. It is about building the future, one daring choice at a time. When we peel back the layers of Jeff Bezos' extraordinary journey, we find not just the story of one man, but a collection of timeless lessons that apply to anyone pursuing a dream. His rise from a modest background to the founder of one of the most powerful companies in history was not an accident. It was the result of deliberate choices, disciplined thinking, and principles that guided him through both triumphs and failures. These lessons are not locked away in the boardrooms of billionaires. They are tools we can all use to reshape our lives and work. Think long-term, act today. Perhaps the most defining lesson from Bezos is the power of long-term thinking. In a world obsessed with quick wins, Bezos built Amazon by looking decades ahead. He often reminded employees that real value comes from being willing to be misunderstood for long periods. Take Amazon Web Services, AWS, as an example. When Amazon launched it in 2006, people questioned why an online retailer would get into cloud computing. But Bezos knew the internet would need reliable infrastructure, and he was willing to wait for that future. Today, AWS is one of Amazon's most profitable divisions. Lesson for us: don't live only for the next paycheck, the next exam, or the next approval. Ask yourself, what seeds can I plant today that will grow into something meaningful 5 or 10 years from now? Long-term vision requires patience, but it multiplies rewards. Use the regret minimization framework. Bezos' decision to leave his secure Wall Street job to start Amazon was guided by his famous regret minimization framework. He imagined himself at 80 years old and asked, "Will I regret not trying?" The answer was yes, and that clarity gave him the courage to leap. This framework is powerful because it shifts the focus from fear of failure to fear of missed opportunities. It reminds us that we are more likely to regret inaction than imperfect action. Lesson for us: when faced with a difficult choice, imagine your older self looking back. Which option would make you proud, and which would leave you wondering, what if? Let that perspective guide your decisions. Obsess over customers, not competitors. Amazon's DNA is built around customer obsession. From the beginning, Bezos instructed his team to think backwards from the customer's needs. He cared less about what competitors were doing and more about how Amazon could delight its users. This philosophy led to innovations like one-click shopping, Prime Delivery, and the Kindle. These were not competitor-driven, they were customer-driven. By focusing on solving people's problems, Amazon built loyalty that no rival could easily match. Lesson for us: in business, career, or personal relationships, focus on serving people, not outshining others. Success flows naturally when you provide real value. Embrace failure as the cost of innovation. Bezos' career is full of high-profile failures. The Fire Phone was a disaster. Some retail experiments flopped. But he never treated these as defeats. Instead, he saw them as tuition fees for innovation. He often said, if you're going to take bold bets, they're experiments. And if they're experiments, you don't know in advance that they're going to work. Without the willingness to fail, there would be no Kindle, no AWS, no Alexa. Lesson for us: failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process. Each failed attempt provides data for the next iteration. If you're not failing at something, you're probably not aiming high enough. Maintain a day one mentality. Bezos is famous for his day one philosophy, which means treating every day as if it's the first day of a startup. Day one is full of energy, urgency, and creativity. Day two, he warned, is stasis, followed by irrelevance, decline, and death. Even as Amazon became a giant corporation, he pushed employees to stay agile, curious, and customer-focused. He believed complacency was the biggest threat to innovation. Lesson for us: approach your work and goals with fresh energy every day. Don't let success breed comfort. Stay hungry, stay curious, and act as though you are just getting started. Be frugal and resourceful. Despite becoming one of the richest men in the world, Bezos built Amazon on a culture of frugality. Early employees worked on desks made of doors balanced on sawhorses. For Bezos, constraints inspired creativity. By refusing to throw money at problems, Amazon was forced to innovate smarter solutions. Lesson for us: don't wait for perfect conditions or unlimited resources to start. Work with what you have. Constraints can be your greatest strength if they force you to be inventive. Follow your curiosity, not just logic. Bezos has often said that curiosity is more powerful than pure logic. His ventures, from Kindle to Blue Origin, came from following personal fascinations. He didn't just calculate profit margins. He pursued projects that sparked his imagination. This passion-driven approach gave him resilience. Logic alone might have told him that starting an online bookstore in 1994 was risky, but his curiosity about the internet's potential pulled him forward. Lesson for us: pay attention to what excites you, not just what is safe or rational. Curiosity fuels perseverance when challenges arise. Take bold bets, not small steps. Bezos believes in making bold bets. Incremental improvements are important, but they rarely change the world. Amazon Prime, AWS, and Alexa were all bold bets that transformed entire industries. Most people fear bold moves because they come with the risk of visible failure, but Bezos understood that the greatest rewards come from high-risk, high-reward experiments. Lesson for us: don't be afraid to aim high. Take risks that stretch you beyond your comfort zone. Even if you fail, you'll grow and discover new possibilities. Hire and surround yourself with the best. From the start, Bezos prioritized talent. He once said, "I'd rather interview 50 people and not hire anyone than hire the wrong person." He looked for people who were not only smart, but also aligned with Amazon's culture of high standards and relentless focus. Lesson for us: the people you surround yourself with shape your future. Be intentional about your environment. Seek mentors, peers, and friends who inspire and challenge you. Always ask, what won't change? Bezos often emphasized the importance of building strategies around things that are stable. For Amazon, he noted that customers would never stop wanting lower prices, faster delivery, and greater selection. By focusing on these unchanging desires, Amazon created enduring value. Lesson for us: don't chase every trend. Build your life and work around timeless principles: trust, honesty, service, excellence. These foundations remain valuable no matter how the world changes. The core lessons summarized. When we distill Bezos' life, we find a toolkit of practical wisdom. Think in decades, not days. Make decisions that minimize future regret. Serve people better than anyone else. Treat failure as a stepping stone, not a dead end. Live every day with startup energy. Be resourceful with limited tools. Follow your passion and curiosity. Dare to take bold risks. Surround yourself with excellence. Focus on what will never change. These lessons explain why Jeff Bezos achieved what he did. More importantly, they show us a way of thinking and acting that can apply to every arena of life, whether you're building a company, pursuing a career, or simply striving to live with more courage and purpose. The life and philosophy of Jeff Bezos might seem distant at first glance. After all, not everyone can build a trillion-dollar company or launch rockets into space. But the beauty of his journey is that the principles behind it are accessible to anyone willing to embrace them. Bezos' lessons are not about luck or privilege. They are about mindset, discipline, and the courage to act. Here, we'll break down how you can apply these lessons in practical, actionable ways, not someday, but starting today. Practice long-term thinking with daily habits. Bezos built Amazon by focusing on decades, not quarters. For most of us, thinking long-term feels overwhelming because we live in a world of instant gratification. But long-term thinking starts small. How to apply it? Create a 10-year vision journal. Write down where you want to be in 10 years, in career, relationships, health, and personal growth. Don't worry about the how yet. Focus on the what. Break it down. Ask yourself what one action today could move you one step closer to that vision. Maybe it's reading a book, saving $10, or reaching out to a mentor. Build habits that compound. Just as Amazon reinvested profits into growth, you can reinvest small daily wins into long-term results. Reading 20 pages a day might not change your life tomorrow, but in 10 years, it will transform your knowledge base. Use the regret minimization framework for big decisions. Most of us struggle with fear when facing big decisions. Changing jobs, starting a business, moving to a new city. Bezos's regret minimization framework gives us a powerful tool to cut through the noise. How to apply it. Next time you face a big choice, imagine yourself at 80 years old. Ask, will I regret not trying this? If the answer is yes, act. Even if the choice fails, you'll gain experience and stories instead of lifelong regret. Keep a regret diary to track moments when fear held you back. Use it as motivation to be bolder next time. Focus on serving, not competing. Bezos obsessed over customers, not competitors. In daily life, we often waste energy comparing ourselves to others, colleagues, friends, or rivals. But comparison drains us. Service strengthens us. How to apply it? In your work, ask, what problem am I solving for others? In relationships, shift from, how am I doing compared to others, to how am I helping the people I care about? Keep a weekly value log. Write down one way you added genuine value to someone else's life that week. Redefine failure as feedback. Bezos embraced failure as the tuition of innovation. For most of us, fear of failure stops us before we start. But failure is not fatal. It's feedback. How to apply it? Adopt the phrase, this is an experiment. Each new project, habit, or attempt is just data gathering. After a failure, write a post-mortem, not to criticize yourself, but to document lessons learned. Celebrate your attempts, not just your successes. Start a failure resume, listing what you tried and what you learned. Live every day with day one. Energy Bezos warned that day two is the enemy of growth. Many of us fall into day two thinking, coasting, playing safe, or losing urgency. How to apply it? Begin each week asking, if I were starting fresh today, what bold step would I take? Shake up routines that have become stale. Try new methods, new tools, or new perspectives. Treat challenges as opportunities to reinvent yourself, not obstacles to endure. Use constraints to spark creativity. Amazon's early frugality, desks made of doors, wasn't just about saving money. It was about encouraging resourcefulness. Constraints can force us to be more creative. How to apply it? When faced with a lack of money, time, or tools, ask, what can I do with what I already have? Set artificial limits. For example, give yourself a 1-hour window to brainstorm solutions to a problem, or create a budget cap for a project and find innovative ways to deliver results. Remember, creativity thrives in constraints. Don't wait for perfect conditions to start. Follow curiosity to find passion. Bezos reminds us, you don't choose your passions choose you. Too often people wait for the perfect passion to reveal itself. Bezos suggests starting with curiosity. How to apply it? Write down 3 things that spark your curiosity. Dedicate 1 hour a week to exploring them. Treat curiosity as a compass. Follow it even if it doesn't have an immediate payoff. Over time, it may lead to your life's work. Ask yourself, what did I love doing as a child? Revisit those interests. They often point to deeper passions. Take bold bets in your own life. Bezos's biggest successes came from bold bets. Prime, AWS, and Kindle. Playing it safe rarely creates breakthroughs. How to apply it? Start with a bold bet list. Write down 3 ideas that scare you but excite you. Commit to testing one of them in the next 90 days. Treat it as an experiment, not a do-or-die moment. Remember, even small, bold bets matter. Starting a side hustle, writing a blog, or learning a new skill could open doors you can't yet see. Surround yourself with excellence. Bezos was meticulous about hiring. He knew that great people elevate your game, while the wrong people drag you down. How to apply it? Audit your circle. Are the people around you lifting you up or holding you back? Seek mentors and peers who embody the qualities you admire. Be intentional with your time. Spend more of it with those who challenge, inspire, and support your growth. 10. Build on what won't change. Bezos built Amazon around timeless truths. Customers will always want lower prices, faster delivery, and better service. The same principle applies to life. How to apply it? Identify the timeless values in your own life: integrity, learning, kindness, resilience. Build decisions around them. Ask, what principles will still matter in 10 years? Invest your time and energy there. When in doubt, return to fundamentals. Trends come and go, but values endure. A daily checklist inspired by Bezos to make these lessons actionable. Here's a daily and weekly checklist you can use. Daily. Did I take one small step toward my long-term vision today? Did I do something I'd regret not trying? Did I serve someone rather than compete with them? Did I treat a failure as feedback instead of defeat? Weekly. Did I start the week with day one energy? Did I practice creativity within my constraints? Did I follow my curiosity at least once? Did I attempt one bold bet? Did I spend time with people who inspire me? Did I act in alignment with timeless values? Living the Bezos way. Applying Bezos' lessons does not require billions of dollars. It requires a shift in perspective. Long-term vision can begin with one choice today. Bold bets can be small but meaningful. Failure can be rebranded as feedback. And curiosity can be nurtured into passion. The ultimate takeaway is this: greatness is not about extraordinary circumstances, but about ordinary people applying extraordinary principles consistently. Bezos started in a garage with a small idea. You can start where you are with what you have, right now. At the heart of Jeff Bezos' story is a simple truth: extraordinary outcomes come from ordinary beginnings. He wasn't born into immense wealth. He didn't inherit a business empire. He started with an idea, a garage, and an unshakable belief in the future. Today, his name is etched into history as one of the most transformative entrepreneurs of our time. But what makes his journey so powerful is not just what he built. It's what his story tells us about our own potential. Bezos teaches us that life is defined by choices, not circumstances. He chose to leave a comfortable Wall Street job to pursue a crazy idea in the early days of the internet. He chose to endure years of losses, criticism, and doubt because he believed in the long-term vision of Amazon. He chose to treat failure as tuition, not tragedy, and he chose to keep dreaming beyond the Earth itself with his space venture, Blue Origin. His journey reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Every bold step Bezos took, from launching Amazon to betting on cloud computing to pushing for reusable rockets, came with uncertainty. But he leaned into uncertainty with a mindset that asked not "what if I fail?" but "what if I never try?" And that is the message for us. You don't need billions of dollars to live by these principles. You don't need to be a genius or have perfect timing. What you need is vision, persistence, and the willingness to take risks that others avoid. Bezos' story proves that the future belongs not to the cautious, but to the courageous. Imagine yourself decades from now, looking back on your life. What will you regret more? The risks you took that didn't work out, or the dreams you never dared to chase? Bezos built his life around minimizing regrets, and that simple principle can change yours too. Another enduring message from Bezos is the power of service. While competitors obsessed over one another, he obsessed over customers. He understood that real success comes not from outshining rivals, but from improving the lives of others. In your own life, ask yourself, am I focused on competition or contribution? The more value you create for others, the more meaningful your journey becomes. Bezos also challenges us to embrace failure as fuel. Too often, we let fear of failure paralyze us. But failure is not a dead end. It is a stepping stone. The Fire phone may have failed, but the lessons from it helped Amazon succeed with Alexa. In the same way, your failures are not final verdicts. They are teachers guiding you toward breakthroughs. Finally, his philosophy of day one is a reminder to never grow complacent. Whether you're running a business, pursuing a career, or building a dream, act as though you are just beginning. Approach each day with curiosity, urgency, and creativity. Because the moment you stop learning, adapting, and pushing forward, you begin to decline. So what do we take away from Jeff Bezos' story? It's not just a tale of business success. It's a call to action for each of us. Dare to dream bigger than seems reasonable. Take bold bets even when others don't understand. Focus on contribution, not comparison. Treat failure as a friend, not an enemy. Live with day one energy, no matter your age or stage in life. Bezos once said, "We are our choices." That is the essence of his legacy. Your life, too, is shaped not by chance, but by the choices you make every day. You may not build the next Amazon, but you can build a life of courage, impact, and meaning if you dare to choose boldly. So let this be your challenge. What garage will you start from? What idea will you bring to life, even if it seems crazy today? What risk will you take that your future self will thank you for? Jeff Bezos' journey is proof that relentless dreamers can change the world. Now it's your turn.